Sleep is always there for my poverty meal, it's free. What's your favorite poverty meal that you still eat regardless of where you are financially? Hey, welcome to another storytime. I'm Andrew, your narrator. If you enjoy the video, consider liking and subscribing for more dank storytimes. Thanks, let's start these stories. Fried egg with rice. I'm Mexican. For us, it's usually quesadillas without meat, rice and black beans as the sides. Toast. If you have butter or something to slap on top, even better, but a few pieces of toast usually satisfies my hunger for a decent amount of time. Oven-baked potatoes with salt and margarine. Cheap ingredients found in almost every home and easy to make. Also, the starch in potatoes makes you feel full for pretty long. I still regularly eat my struggle nachos, tortilla chips with slices of American cheese on top and microwaved. Now that I can afford it, I'll throw taco meat on top every now and again, but still very much enjoy just the chips and cheese. In Ireland, specifically Dublin, we have a dish called coddle. It's a salty white stew from the days of the poor tenements. It's made with leftover sausages, bacon, potatoes and variable other veggies and grains such as barley. It is an ugly dish to look at, but it is so tasty, wholesome and filling. Quesadillas with hot sauce if there is any. Edit. I think a lot of people have different ideas of what a quesadilla is. My version is strictly a single tortilla with whatever cheese I have lying around, usually dollar packs of singles. That means no meat, beans, lettuce, tomato, etc. And I definitely don't use a foreman to make mine. Pizza in Italy was originally only eaten by poor people who couldn't afford proper meals, and so they used the basics of flour, tomatoes and other cheap items to come up with pizza. However, instead of the meat and other things on modern pizza, the basic vegetables make the pizza just as tasty, and I always enjoy eating it. I had a pange recently and felt like a funking fool. Why did I stop eating these when I became an adult? Society led me to believe this was the way. It is not. Been having pange a couple nights a week since. I refuse to let society's unenlightened views dictate my dinner choices. Pange is a top-tier dish for any occasion. My great-grandmother ran a boarding house during the Depression. Hobos that rode the trains knew if they needed a meal to go to the back fence. She fed them hobo sandwiches, which were whatever she had left. Homemade bread slices toasted in the skillet with a fried egg, slice of cheese, pat of butter, leftover slice of roast or ham or sausage or brisket. Whatever she had, she shared. There was a mark on her back gate post that said, "A nice lady here will feed you." Stew. There could be anything in there, but it's still delicious. My grandma, who grew up during World War II, taught me that you can make soup from almost anything. At least once a week I just throw a bunch of scrap veggies, leftover meat, rice, and whatever other random bits are left over from the week's meals into a pot with some stock, boil it all together and bam. I'm South African and for me that's samp and beans. Samp is corn. Both are soaked overnight and then pressure cooked with spices and some cheap meat, served with melted butter, salt and black pepper. It doesn't sound like much, but I swear, this is an S-tier comfort food that I'd pick over high-priced sushi any day. We used to eat squash and eggs growing up. Grew the squash and eggs are cheap enough, or trade with the neighbors. You just cut the squash into thin round and cook in a pan with a little oil until they're just soft. Scramble the eggs with the squash, add a bunch of pepper, some salt. Sometimes we ate it over noodles or rice. I remember a big pot of beans living in the fridge. Hungry? Get some beans. Don't like what was for dinner? Get some beans. Upset stomach? Beans. That was 100% my grandmother growing up as well. Anytime you said you were hungry, beans. If you were lucky, there were cold biscuits left from breakfast, too. Edit. In the southern US, biscuits are a heavenly baked good that's eaten sort of like a dinner roll, but tastes a million times better. We call those little flat desserts cookies. They're also good, but biscuits are delicious. Edit 2, since you guys are so fascinated by biscuits, my grandmother also made the other type of biscuits, cookies. They were called tea cakes and they were amazing. I haven't seen them outside the southern US, so I think they're a regional thing. English muffin pizza. A jar of pasta sauce, English muffins, mozzarella and toppings of your choice. Fresh produce is dirt cheap. The pasta sauce is the most expensive part, and if you make it and the English muffins at home, each mini pizza is like 30 cents. Edit. So, I need to call out my privilege here. I grew up broke, but I grew up adjacent to an affluent white neighborhood. Produce isn't dirt cheap or even available everywhere, but it should be. Grew up poor, but my mom sure knew how to stretch a dollar. She would make steak fingers out of the cheapest cuts she could find. Tenderize, fry them up, make gravy out of the drippings, and serve with mashed potatoes. The whole meal probably cost less than $5 in '70s dollars, and I'm telling you nothing tasted better. I made it for my kids when they were growing up, and they still ask me for it sometimes. She would be 94 today. Love you, miss you, mom. Indomie ramen specifically. If you haven't heard of it, you're missing out. It was so popular in Nigeria it practically replaced the world noodle, despite Indomie being an Indonesian product, 11,688 kilometers away. I brought it to an international summer camp in Finland, where all the delegates from other countries pretty much lapped up the serving tray like dogs. Edit. My highest voted comment is now about Indomie. The cult elders are pleased. Grilled cheese is my go-to. Grilled cheese is great pretending to be bogey food too. My brother and I used to go to the store together and splurge on fancy-ish cheese, i.e. still the pre-cut stuff in plastic in the dairy section, not the high-end stuff in the deli section or the fancy cheese cooler, and see who could come up with the best combination of cheeses and bread from the bakery section. I think we settled on sourdough, smoked Gouda, Havarti, and cream cheese. Cinnamon toast. Just bread, butter, cinnamon and sugar mixed together. Also, I love ramen. Edit. Thank you for my first award. Stranger really was not expecting this comment to blow up. Apparently y'all love your cinnamon toast and ramen, I mean instant noodles for all y'all nitpickers in the thread lol. Second edit. I've always referred to margarine as butter. So when I say butter, I mean margarine. Y'all really are nitpickin' lmao. Steamed white rice, crack a raw egg in it while it's scorching hot, stir aggressively and dash with soy sauce. If I have some roasted seaweed in that shiz. Super cheap breakfast, but oh man is it filling delicious. Edit. Thanks for all the recommendations, everyone. Sesame oil, pickled plum, furikake, rice seasoning, spam, and cabbage are all on my list of ingredients to mix and match. To answer this, as it's getting asked quite a bit, I'm not Asian, I'm white. I do very much enjoy cooking, especially Southeast Asian dishes. If you have recipes you'd like to share for a frugal home cook who enjoys Southeast Asian cooking, please do so. Thing called goop, it's something my father came up with when he was super poor after leaving the army in the 80s when the economy was funked, and it's now like a staple in our family. It's like a stroganoff or something, I guess. The recipe is 1 can of cheap cream of mushroom soup, one of those 80-cent things of sour cream, the empty soup can full of milk, a dash of $1 steak sauce, seasoning and cheap ground beef over noodles. Costs just a couple bucks to make and feeds an entire family of 4. Editing to add the full recipe. I use Goya seasonal, and I generally put it over farfalle noodles, but fettuccine works really well though. So the general recipe I follow is as follows: brown ground meat with salt and pepper with a dash of Worcestershire sauce. Once that's browned, add in a can of cream of mushroom and a huge dollop of sour cream, fill the fan with milk and add that too. Then some more Worcestershire sauce, some A1, and like a tablespoon of your favorite mustard. Season to taste with Italian seasoning, garlic powder, onion powder and whatever else you think sounds good. Serve over noodles. I also suggest putting some Parmesan cheese over it when you eat it cause it's good. Okay, here are a few. Cut a circular hole in a piece of white bread, put a little butter on both sides, and drop it in a pan with an egg in the middle. Any canned soup becomes a heartier meal with some rice in it. Pasta is really good if you cook it up with a can of cream of mushroom soup and a can of tuna. Basically anything with rice, egg, bread, canned veggies, and even canned soups is cheap and filling as funk. For less than $5 you can have like a 4-day container of stew with rice, some kind of soup flavoring, a veggie added, and egg. It's somewhat nutritious and can taste decent. If you want to splurge an extra dollar, buy a soup like Amy's. They have a lot of veggie and lentil soups that at least feel less processed than some of the other brands, and you can stretch that out for a while. Also, canned potatoes are less than $2 and they go a long way to make a meal heartier. If you want to go super cheap and put in the effort, a sack of potatoes is super versatile and can be the foundation for several meals. Thanks for watching. What did you think of the story time? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked the video, smash that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any more story times.